Hey there, before this episode begins, just want to give a huge shout out to Brotherhood.MFG for sponsoring this episode, and to co-founder Jonathan Laverne for coming on the show to talk about car culture and the direction of his company. If you want to check out their product, go to teespring.com/stores/Brotherhood.MFG and use discount code PASTIME. Also, shout out to our only patron, Kevin. If you would like to become a patron, go to patreon.com/pastime, and if you know anyone who might enjoy the show, please feel free to send them our way. One last thing, I apologize for any background noise. We recently got a new kitten, and he has no podcast etiquette. Well, on with the episode. Hello, and welcome to episode 12 of the Pastime Thinker podcast. I'm your host, Frederick Piquet, and today my guest is Jonathan Laverne, co-founder of Brotherhood.MFG, a well-known sponsor of this podcast. How are you today?
We're doing pretty good.
Yeah? Keeping safe? Staying healthy?
Yeah, staying healthy even throughout this whole COVID thing.
Yeah.
It's been hard on a lot of people and everything else. It's like we also have like protocols for our company as well and everything else. So
Mm-hmm.
just trying to keep it as safe as possible, and it's all we can do. Wash your hands and
Wash
stay
your hands.
indoors and stay safe. That's about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So with the whole Brotherhood MFG, it's a car culture clothing brand. So I would assume you're very much into car culture.
Die hard.
Die hard, die hard.
Die hard, die hard, die hard for cars. I would definitely sell my kids to keep a car probably in the future. I could see that happening. But yeah, no, definitely super into cars, always been.
Yeah.
What did you want to talk about for car culture?
I don't know, just some of the ins and outs of car culture itself. Is there any like groups, I guess, like people who like consider
I guess you
themselves
could put
car
it
culture but like disagree on a certain, like, is there any touchy subjects?
touchy subjects.
Like
Is
auto
kind of
versus
like
manual?
auto. Well, that's yeah. There's a lot of guys that do that. There's cultures within. So you can go like VIP stance. You can go stance. You can go. Um, let's say like a nice track car. There's
Mm-hmm.
drifting. There's all these different cultures, but like I find that less and less it's become more of a community where everybody else kind of like they all agree of okay, wow, that's a nice build. Like you
Okay.
did an amazing job on that car and everything else
Like a
compared to like I want to say like 2 years ago, where you'd see a stance car and Buddy would have a lifted truck beside it and he would just talk shit about the car or whatever else, and the other guy would talk shit about the truck compared to now where everybody is kind of like we're kind of getting together now and just really appreciating everything that we've done to a vehicle because at the end of the day,
mm-hmm.
all we're doing is we're just showing our personality on and showing who we are through a
Okay.
vehicle. Like that's what
So
that's doing.
So like you can be a car guy, who's only interested in what's under the hood, a car guy that's only interested in the aesthetics of it, a show car guy, a drift car
Yep.
guy, and there's not really much bad blood between them.
There's not really much. No, no, not really. There's still like the like when I say bad blood, I'm talking like my like the generation of what it's become today. There's still like even within like my city, like there's still a little bit of bad blood. Like it's not really like bad blood. It's just kind of like like little remarks and jokes and guys just shit talking other guys and
Yeah.
it's mostly the old guys compared to the young guys where they have these old muscle cars that they've had for 40, 30 years and we're all in love with them, but they'll just be like, oh, like your little car is not going to do nothing. It's a little Korean car that came from overseas, and yeah, so they kind of shit
Mm-hmm.
talk or whatever else. But it's funny when you send them to Gapplebee's and you see them way behind you when you go to race at a light, and they're still standing there, and you're just kind of laughing like, haha, you just shit talking the car, although I have a big turbo. So, you know,
Yeah.
yeah, it's funny to see, but that's like even now, like we're our group and their group are now kind of like joining forces to create kind of like a bigger group and a bigger community or whatever else.
It's trying to create like a general safe space for the entire
Yeah,
community.
exactly. So like everybody meets up, like you get to see more cars, you get to see more of what other people do. Like let's say like they got the car built at a shop, or if they've done it all at home. You
Mm-hmm.
get to see all like the little tricks and like everything that everybody tries to do with their cars, which is really cool. Or trucks, like I'm open to everything. That's
Yeah. Do you have, even though you are open to everything, do you have a preference in specific
um
cars? Like,
I
do you
am.
like, again, like certain
There's
auto over manual? I know you drive a manual.
Yeah, yeah. I will never drive an automatic again unless it's a truck. If it's a truck, I'll drive an auto. I don't want a manual truck that just be a pain in the ass to tow and everything else. But no, like it's my preferences would definitely be mostly cars from Japan and stuff like that. Kind of like Hondas, Toyotas. Um, yeah, that's me. Mitsubishi as well. I'm not sure if that's a Japanese brand though. I'd have
Mhm.
to do a little bit more research. Pretty sure it is. Like pretty positive.
Oh, one
Uh,
minute. I just have cats being cats.
no worries.
Get out of here. There you go. Sorry about that.
All good.
So yeah, do you have a preference though between like local foreign cars? Do they both have their own strengths and weaknesses?
Uh,
Um, what's all that
yeah.
like?
There's a lot of cars that you'll see come by and you're kind of like, okay, whatever. You got it off the lot. Like that's cool. Like, you got a nice BMW or whatever else, and you paid 60 grand for it. All right, cool. It
Hmm.
goes fast. You bought it because it looks good and it goes fast. You don't have to do anything to it. It just goes. And then you see guys that have like a 1990s Honda Civic, and it looks pretty clean on the outside. Like, the paint's a little chipped or whatever else. He's got decently nice wheels, got nice tires, and then next thing you know, he pops the hood and he's got 20 grand under there. Well, like there's all these different variables to like what you can do and everything else. Like anything's possible. And I think that's where the car culture is going now is everybody's
Hmm.
starting to realize you can do anything you want to a car. You can put a different engine in it. You can do anything you want because we have the technology now.
As opposed to late like back then.
Like back then, like when you were talking about doing an engine swap and stuff like that, like there's so many different things that you had to consider. So like let's say you were putting a Honda engine into uh let's say a Toyota MR2 because I know that's a pretty big swap right now. They'll put a Honda K series engine in an MR2
Hmm.
because it kind of fits the same dimensions and it's a nice build. But when you're talking about electrical and the wiring harness and everything else, well, now you need to know which what all the wires do to communicate with the computer.
Hmm.
And we weren't really technologically advanced till uh they've been doing it for a little while now. Like I want to say at least within like the last 10 years or so.
Hmm.
Um, which is that's to me that's still crazy. Like and now you can literally just go to the store and buy a plug that plugs in the computer that allows to read all the cables for that engine.
Hmm.
So
In
it's literally just plug and play.
I,
That's all you got to do.
I just want to touch up on what you said with the progress of technology. How is like electrical cars fitting into the car culture world of today? Are they not really introduced yet? Are they getting
Uh,
some resistance? Are they being welcomed in?
for hmm, there's there's big talks about Teslas and stuff like that because they are super fast.
Hmm.
Those things will blow the doors off almost any car right now because it's just instantaneous torque. It's ridiculous. I've seen videos of guys on little crotch rockets, little 1000 cc bikes, and they go to race a Tesla, and the Tesla just zips by them. Like
Hmm.
it's unreal. Um, the look of the car, that's where it gets kind of controversial. It looks like a little grandpa sedan, like it's nothing spectacular. The interior though is where I find everybody kind of that's where Tesla draws the attention. It's so minimalistic, but yet
Yeah.
so technologically advanced that it's amazing to see and everything else. And they've done advancements. I know with Tesla, they have the new Tesla Roadster that is absolutely menacing for speed. I'm pretty sure, if I recall correctly, it was um, in 1.2 seconds, it got up to 60 miles an hour.
Oh wow. And
Yeah, so like about 110 kilometers an hour in about 1.2 seconds,
I mean, you
which
think
is absurd.
that's is that because they're electric cars and like that's the difference between
Yeah,
electric
so
versus
now
gas, or is that just because they're both electric cars and they have the better technology in them? Like, do you think a gas powered car could have those same kind of features, or is it just not a
um,
thing?
for it's very hard to kind of differentiate the two because it's kind of like oranges and bananas, right? Like
Hmm.
it's two different things and two different ways of it moving.
Like the only thing
Like
that they have in common is that they get you from point A to point B, but besides that, they're technically two different things.
pretty much, yeah. Because like when you're talking about a motor, you're talking about a vacuum and magnetic fields that rotate or provide torque to a shaft, compared to an engine where you have fuel, air, combustion, spark, ignition, like all these different things that it's basically it takes more time to get the torque to the shaft as to
Okay.
where electric is battery power instant. It's
Okay.
there's instant torque. It the way to explain it is basically if you think of a light switch, right?
Hmm.
Um, let's say you'll flick the light switch in the house.
Hmm.
Think of that as being the torque of an electric car. It's instantaneous.
Okay. Yeah. No,
Now
I get it.
think of like I don't know.
Hello. I lost you there, John.
Was that?
I lost you there.
Did it cut off?
You cut
Oh
off a little
damn.
bit. We're
Okay.
still rolling though. It's all
Oh,
fine.
we're still rolling. Okay, that's
You were
good.
you,
That's good.
you
Let's
weren't quiet for
backtrack
too
a
long.
bit.
So yeah, light
I
switch.
don't
You turn it on. You know the power's there immediately.
instant. Yeah, yeah. So now walk into an old gym um, and go to turn on the light there. It's going to take a little while to turn on. Like it's going to, progressively get brighter and brighter and brighter.
Hmm.
And that's kind of the way a gas engine works. And with culture, like with the car culture and everything else, like when you're talking about gas versus electric, there's a lot of guys that are going to shit talk if you say, oh, like, I have this motor in my car. Well, it's not a motor, dude. It's an engine. A motor is electric. And
Okay.
people will kind of get on each other about that there. It's kind of ridiculous, but it is a fact. So
Hmm.
it is correct to say that an engine is an engine and a motor is electric. And yeah, that's pretty much
That's
touches on
that. Yeah.
electric. Yeah, that for electric cars for sure. Yeah, no.
Okay, then we can move the conversation on a little bit. How did your love for cars translate to you wanting to make clothing based on car culture?
Um, Kind of like when I seen a lack for what it truly was to everyone. When I think of the like a car culture and my brand and everything else, and it being called Brotherhood is kind of like leading towards the way that the car community and the car culture and everything else are starting to go, where it's um, a brotherhood. Like you are brothers with whoever is beside you or whoever's, I don't know, 10 cars down in the parking lot. Um, or at the racetrack, your four trailers beside each other or whatever else. Like that's you still think of that guy as, one of your brothers.
Yeah,
And kind
common
of
interest. You're the
common
same
interest
group.
and it's just kind of trying to share that passion and help each other progress. And when I seen a lack of that within branding and stuff like that through like I know
Hmm.
there's a lot of other companies that do clothing for car culture and everything else. And I just think that they stand for something that is cool. Like I'll understand that. Like a lot of them have to do with drifting. A lot of them have to do with just Japan specifically and stuff like that. But when it comes down to my brand, I just really want to bring everyone together.
Hmm.
And
I might
I should
sound
say my brand. I should
I might sound
say
a
me and my
little
partner's brand.
sorry. I might sound a
No
little
worries.
ignorant for saying this, but in terms of car culture, clothing, and merchandise and stuff like that, in my experience, I feel that there isn't much of it. Like you can get like car inspired merchandise, but usually that merchandise isn't specifically car inspired. It's usually based off of like a car influencer, like a YouTuber or like an Instagram
Yeah.
guy, and it's usually like his merchandise, but not really merchandise specifically for car culture.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. Yeah, like for car culture, there's not many, and you're definitely right on that note. Um, and a lot of them is YouTubers and stuff like that that have they showcase
Like there are car YouTubers who
they
have
like
their own merchandise, but the
yeah
merchandise kind of
doesn't showcase the culture. It showcases what they like and
mhm.
their content and whatever else through their merch. And
Not that it's
yeah,
bad
that's fine.
merchandise or
Not
anything
that it's
like that.
bad. Like, like some of them have super nice merch and stuff like that. But yeah, you're definitely right on that note. And uh, it's just something that I seen that I can just tap into and kind of not not necessarily make a profit from. Yeah, I definitely
Well,
will.
I
We're
mean, like
so
ultimately that's what
we're
you
not,
want,
we're not
right?
that's what we want, right? Like we want to make a profit, and stuff like that. But that is not the main goal. The main goal is to try and bring everybody together, um, and really just create one unique car community
Hmm.
within the nation and stuff like that. So it's a big goal. Like
Oh yeah.
it's it seems unattainable every day, but
Well, that's
you know
the struggle of small
that
business.
that's the struggle of small business. But you need to have that mindset and that drive to every day wake up and think, okay, you know what, that's far away, but I can
Hmm.
still do this. I got this. Like, you know what? There's people that will support you. There's opportunities, endless opportunities in this world, in this lifetime that people will see and granted they'll take.
Yeah.
And to me, that's everything that we could that's everything that we can do. Like there's not much more to it.
Hmm. And I do believe that you everything in the merchandise, like all your merchandise, you've designed yourself, correct?
Yeah, I've drawn everything by hand and then scanned, put it back up onto the computer, touched it back up on the computer just to make sure it was perfect.
Hmm.
Uh, Super long process.
Yeah, so
Uh,
there's a lot of interests here coinciding. You know, you got the car culture
yeah,
side, you got the clothing side, you got the designing side.
yeah.
Um,
There's so many other things that like I still do my research on other brands and see like what sells the most for them and like what kind of designs and is there color, is there no color, and it's you're basically going behind their back and kind of like everybody pickpockets off each other. It's basic marketing. That's what it is. It's okay, well, who's the best right now? How do I make it better? How
yeah,
do I make that their product better but with my name on it?
yeah.
Because you're not technically stealing their idea. You're just pickpocketing. That's all you're doing. That's basic marketing. That's why like when I went to school for business at first, it was for marketing.
Hmm.
And then when I seen what companies do to other companies and stuff like that, just through me being at school, it was like, wow, like, nope, I can't do this.
It is one of those things though where if you do it right, you can make a lot of money.
A lot of money, yeah.
Like
And
marketing in general. I'm not really talking about either of our brands right now. I just mean
oh yeah, no,
marketing in
yeah,
general.
definitely. Like marketing in general, but I find that a lot of the guys that make a lot of that money within like business marketing and kind of like you're going for other companies and you're trying to demolish them. That's
Hmm.
and it's a real scary thing because now you're not just talking about another business and crushing it. You're talking about the 200 employees that work there. You're talking about I don't know, the 150 families that are in that building and stuff like that that have kids, and all that. And it's something that I don't think I could ever live with.
Yeah.
Be to you launch a product or something and everything else, and it destroys another company, and next thing you know, those 200 families are out of a job.
Yeah, that's a thing that happens on a small scale every day.
Yeah, and see, like, and nobody really sees that, and it's something that like, granted, that guy's making a killing, he's proud of himself, like he's working hard, he's grinding, cool.
Hmm. I think as long as it's not with malicious intent, I don't think it's
Exactly.
that
Yeah,
bad.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
if you're doing something specifically to down another company, yeah, you're
yeah,
like that kind of
yeah.
sucks for that
See, like that.
company's
Yeah,
employees.
that,
But
that
if
that's what I'm getting at. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So, like, if it's not out of malicious intent, like, you know what, if things happen.
I so happen
Like,
to release this product that does better than your product, like sorry,
yeah,
but it's also
yeah.
up to that other
Sorry,
company to
it's kind
do.
of like a sorry not sorry situation. It's
Yeah.
sorry but not sorry. Like, you
Yeah.
know, I'm doing good. You're not. My bad. But it's the way the
My
world.
bad.
It's we can't control everything,
Yeah.
and you know what? That's just the way life is. There's it's it's
Very,
it's it's true.
very cut and
It's
dry about it.
very cut and dry, very cut and dry, very direct.
Yeah.
That is me. Um, but no, I won't. I definitely wouldn't. Not something I would go back into necessarily as a business standpoint for another company.
But
Because
you'd
a
still
lot
use those skills for yourself.
exactly, yeah.
Hmm.
So like it's because I know that okay, I am vigilant of what is going on around me and those types of things.
Hmm.
Compared to where there's businesses that they won't tell you anything, they're just going to tell you to sit at your desk and get this done and everything else. And next thing you know, you don't know anything, but then you hear it in the news and stuff like that, and then it's it's crazy to think that something so small could blow up out of proportion, but it happens every day.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no. As a business, it's all about the car culture. It's all about uh, our name, Brotherhood.
Hmm.
That's basically what it is. Yeah.
And specifically, there's a lot of Japanese influence in your products.
Yeah. That's a big thing for us. We well, me and my partner both really adore. Uh, I wouldn't say adore. We fucking love it. Fucking love the Japanese car culture.
Yeah,
Uh,
what's the
car,
primary difference between the Japanese car culture and the
um,
Western civilization
we
car culture?
so like Western civilization is new parts. Like oh fuck, we need the biggest, the baddest of everything. And you go to
Hmm.
Japan and they'll grab fuck piping from an old tractor and slap that on their car, weld it. It looks like absolute dog shit, but that thing runs.
Okay.
As to where, a guy from over here is just literally gonna, build this car and it's gonna take 3 years.
Hmm.
Well, then you're 3 years down the hole of spending money on something that doesn't even run yet. Next thing you know, you're gonna go start the key, you blow up the engine because you missed a step. Like that,
So
that happens.
yeah,
So like the Japanese just basically the same mentality that I've been taught all my life is if something isn't broke, don't fix it.
yeah. So like Western car culture is more, bigger, better, more expensive. I win, haha. And
Yeah.
and Japanese car culture is more like originality.
Originality, and it's all about the driving. It's not about oh, look at my badass car and everything else. Like, oh, they have style. Like those guys know how to
But can you
those guys
drive it?
know how, but can you drive it? And
Yeah.
I highly doubt that there will ever be uh anybody as good as some of those Japanese guys because
Hmm.
they can go down a mountain in middle of Japan where there's no traffic ever, and they will drive the hell out of that road. There's actually there's a cartoon from Japan. It's actually on Netflix. Initial D,
Initial D.
and that basically depicts uh, the car scene that is there in Japan and kind of like everything that goes on. Um, a lot of it also Tokyo Drift, Fast and Furious.
Fast and Furious. That's my only exposure
Classic.
to
That's a
anything like
classic
that.
movie. That's the first one that really showcased drifting in around 2006 for the Western civilization. Like nobody really did it. Nobody really thought about it. Guys would take corners and drift, but they didn't really
Make a sport of it.
make a sport of it. And then I think it was in around 2006, 2007 where Formula Drift was first formulated in the US.
Okay.
And that's when it really started for the Western civilization and for Canada and the U.S. and stuff like that. Um, and then just fucking blew out of proportion so quick because those guys were racing with cars. I don't know, 400 some horsepower. Just barely even burning any rubber. Just going around the track. Yeah, they're going fast. They're side by
Hmm.
side, about a foot apart from each other and following cones and stuff like that. But the events weren't mainstream. Now
Okay.
you look at it today, um, guys that follow Formula Drift like myself and my partner and stuff like that, you see cars that are over-engineered and overbuilt to drift. Like you're talking about a car that if I wanted to build that, it'd cost me $220,000.
Damn.
Like custom CNC lasering for suspension components, engine components. There's actually a guy this year who's running a fully 3D printed metal intake manifold.
I don't know what that is. Care to explain what
So,
a intake manifold is?
well, regular 3D printing is basically made with plastic, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Um, and so, anyways, they 3D printed what basically is you kind of call it a plenum. It's basically what holds all of the air before it goes into the engine.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of like, well, depending on what vehicle, it could look like a tube. It could look like a big box with basically just tubes that go into each of the intake uh, outlets in the head or inlets of the head for the engine.
Okay.
And basically they built 1,000 horsepower 2020 Toyota Supra with the engine that was in there. But when they came to the intake manifold, the stock one's made out of plastic, and that car is so new that no company's made anything for that car.
Okay. Except for
There's a lot
the
of
stock ones.
yeah, exactly. Like there's a lot of old components that you can use. So since I'm pretty sure it's a B58 BMW engine that's in the Toyota Supra. So there were, a set of there's certain things that you could have bought like rods for inside the engine that connect to the pistons and stuff like that. But they
Mm-hmm.
decided to just fully go out and re-engineer this engine to make a shit ton of power.
Mm-hmm.
And to the point where you, I don't even want to know how much money it cost because it
Yeah.
just looks so damn good. And when you're talking about grabbing like a forged piece of steel and just CNC lasering cutting
Yeah.
something out of it.
Well, I think it's kind of hilarious that they took this 2020 car and they were like, you know what? You guys aren't making pieces for it fast enough. We're just gonna
Yeah,
do it ourselves. Like,
just
fuck
do it
it.
ourselves. Like fuck it. Yeah, exactly. And it's wild to see. And this is when this is what I mean by technology and how advanced we are today. Like you can buy a CNC table for $3,000 and put it in your garage. If you know how to use that CAD software, you can make anything you want.
Mm-hmm.
You can grab a cinder block, well, not a cinder block, but a big block of aluminum, and make an engine. If
Yeah,
you really
that's wild to me. I would never know how. That
like,
is nothing in my
that's
wheelhouse.
mind blowing. Like that is absolutely mind blowing. That you know what, like we have access to that, and a lot of guys are taking advantage of it. Like there's so many other CNC companies in the world now that laser cut everything.
Mm-hmm. I do
And
know
it's
that like laser cutting in general is becoming more of a
yeah,
mainstream thing. It's all over YouTube. Like, watch us laser
yeah.
cut like a
Oh
fucking
yeah,
bowling ball.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. And but that intake manifold was the first ever 3D printed metal intake manifold.
okay. And I assume it's just going to happen more and more often now, and to a
Oh,
point where there's going to be an entire car that's 3D printed.
yep, I definitely see that happening for
That would
sure.
that's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, piece by piece, and they're gonna weld it together.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? That's because the intake manifold was basically 3D printed from four different sides. And the way it works is really cool for metal.
Okay.
So basically, there's metal sand at the bottom of this box,
Okay.
and then there's a laser that'll basically laser down the components, like each layer of the components, and then throw a fresh coat of sand on top.
Mm-hmm.
Laser down, throw a fresh coat of sand on top, and it basically builds that component out of that metal sand. And you can get it in different types of metals and stuff like that, which is fucking astonishing. Like that's
At
absolutely mind blowing.
at what point do doing things like this to cars reach a legal standpoint? Like, how much can you fuck with a car to the point where it's
Uh,
illegal?
uh that's a hard judgment right there. That's you know what, like
Is there a line, or is it
there's
ambiguous?
definitely a line. There's definitely a line that you can
Okay.
easily cross.
Like,
It
not what
doesn't really.
you like, not what you do with the car, but like what you do to the car?
So number one thing would be exhausts,
Okay.
because of emissions and stuff like that. Uh, every car has to follow certain regulations to their exhaust, and well, the entire car culture just rips them off and just puts a fucking straight pipe
Yeah,
because
that.
why?
Yeah,
It's hella
I
loud.
hear that a lot. Like when
And
again, I'm not well versed in the car culture or anything like that, but I do hear people complaining, bitching, complimenting. It's almost always about the exhaust.
yep, it's either a love or a hate. That's for sure. My car is almost full straight pipe. I did put a muffler because I had it full straight pipe and I didn't like the sound of it. I thought it was too loud and too obnoxious.
Okay.
Uh, so I put the exhaust, well, the muffler back on at the end, and it's still just as loud,
But a
but
different kind of noise.
the sound is a lot better. It doesn't
Hmm.
just sound like a piece of shit going down the road.
Yeah.
Uh, so that's it's those I feel like that's the biggest thing. I know in the States it's super regulated in California,
Okay.
where you can almost like not even modify a Honda. You can't even modify like
Oh
you
wow.
really can't modify a vehicle
Like really,
because
the
of
only thing I know
stricter.
about in terms of the legality and modifying, I know that exhaust is an important one, and I know that window tint is an important
Yeah,
one.
window tint is a very important one. That's a big one. Um, I know for a fact that here in Canada it's 10% max
Okay.
the front. I know a lot of people that run five.
Okay.
Depending how you use it, you can get away with it because you might not tint your back windows as dark.
Okay.
I know I have 10% in the front for my driver window and passenger window, and in the rear for my rear doors, I have 5%.
Okay.
So basically, 5% of light can portray through it.
Okay. That's what the
Uh,
percentage means.
yeah, that's what the
Okay.
percentage means. So 5% can go through. So really, there's not much light.
Okay.
Um, that's why when let's say a cop pulls you over or whatever else, you'll see videos of guys just ripping off tint off the window, like right off the window.
Could you just rimp tint off the window?
Oh yeah. So basically, it's kind of like a reverse tape uh, paper,
Oh
kind of like a
wow.
plastic paper.
I had no
That's all it
idea.
really is.
I thought
Yep.
that tint was like legitimately just like dark glass.
Oh yeah. No, I wish that'd be totally different. You couldn't scratch that. You wouldn't see like my dog was in my car not too long ago and put his paw up on the window and scratched the tint. So there's a
Oh
big fucking
no.
gash in my tint now. So I gotta get the passenger window redone. But yeah, no, super fun.
Wow. I did not
So
know
there's
that.
a lot of big shit that you can definitely do to modify cars and stuff like that. But it's not really closely regulated if you have a quiet enough exhaust. Like I don't get pulled over for my exhaust. Nobody has ever pulled me over for that.
Okay.
Pulled me over for speeding for sure. Fuck yeah. Uh, like I got my car impounded in October. That was pretty fun.
The
Yeah,
police
that's a
officer
that's a
just didn't understand. I had to go fast, sir. I had to
yeah,
go fast.
yeah. I was actually rushing to work and definitely wasn't going as fast as he said. That's for fucking sure. My car can't even go that fast. That's the sad part. Kind of hurt my feelings when he said it was going that fast. I'm like, sir, there's no way. Like, it doesn't go that fast.
Trust me, I was trying the whole time. I wasn't going that
Yeah,
fast.
exactly, exactly. Yeah. Um, no, 1 week, no car, stuff like that. So, you know,
Is that
yeah,
just part of the car culture lifestyle, or are you just a
I
rebel?
feel it definitely is. It's definitely a part of the cultural lifestyle, depending on who you are
Hmm.
as a driver and how much you care about road laws, depending how many people are around you. Like when this all happened, there was nobody around me, not a
Hmm.
single soul, not a single car. I don't believe in just fucking ripping through traffic and putting everybody else's life at risk because you want to have fun in your car.
Yeah.
Super fun to do. Don't get me wrong. Weaving through traffic is fucking sick. When I
Yeah,
lived in
just
Toronto,
zippering.
this thing ever.
Yeah.
But you're putting so many other lives at risk, and I just don't think that that's worth it. We have a place to do all that. There's tracks around the world
Yeah.
where you can bring your car, beat that piss out of it, and if you crash, well, you end up either in sand, grass, or a wall with
Yeah.
rubber. So
Not in
car might
someone's fucking
be more
family.
damage, but you're not killing a family.
Yeah.
It's a I think that's the biggest controversy in car culture in car world today. Like I know there's still a lot of
Is
like
how they behave on public roads.
yeah, how they behave on public roads. Like if I see, one of our guys just do something stupid on the street, I'm gonna want to do it too, but I'm probably not gonna do it. But getting back to the question as to why we have Japanese writing stuff like that. Yeah, we
Oh,
do
that's right.
love
That's
the
where this
Japan.
started.
That's where all that started. Yeah, we kind of got off topic, but it's okay. I remembered. But yeah, no, definitely. Them, it's all about driving
Hmm.
and not really, um, and having fun with your friends. It's not so much a competition as to because they drive ridiculous on streets.
Hmm.
Um, they have tracks, but there is nothing like driving a car sideways in your hometown or in town or whatever else where there's nobody. Like it's a totally different feeling because it's, oh, am I gonna get caught? Am I not gonna get caught? Is a cop gonna see me?
Yeah.
There's all these different adrenaline aspects that they don't care about. They just go.
Yeah.
And you'll see there's videos of cars in Japan drifting on a road. Um, it's just basically it's a highway, it's a straight stretch, and then there's a bunch of turnoffs or whatever else, but there'll be 10 guys drifting at the same time, side by side, and then they'll switch and rotate and then rotate back and get back onto that back road.
Hmm.
And same thing for the mountains. You're talking about 30 car trains. There's 30 cars all going sideways at the same time or, staying close to each other while going down the mountain. Like that's insane. That's driving.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's where I really like holy fuck, I can't even talk. The Japan culture for driving is it's a family unit almost.
Yeah.
It's
Well, it
like
kind of feels like in the Japanese car culture, it doesn't really matter if you have the car with the best specs unless
yeah,
you can drive it using the best specs.
exactly. Yeah. They'll drive a car with 200 horsepower and you're going to be like, holy shit, that guy's ripping. But he's
Hmm.
using all 200 horsepower compared to the guy who's got 1,000 horsepower built car who's using,
Who's just putting the gas down? Who's just like slamming the pedal down?
yeah, like you're just slamming the pedal down and yeah, you're burning rubber and everything else, but you're not fucking driving the piss out of that car. The
Hmm.
car is driving itself at
Yeah.
that point because there's so much horsepower that it's almost a no-brainer. Like, oh, there's still definitely some like you still have to control the car and everything else. I get that. But to control a 200 horsepower car and you're driving it faster than that 1,000 horsepower car, that's retarded.
Hmm.
That's insane. And that's what those guys do. They drive cars that barely work and make it work and beat the piss out of them till even if they look like shit or not. There's you can fly to Japan, go to Ebisu Circuit. You can rent a car for as long as you're staying there and drive on the track.
Okay.
The car looks like it literally got crushed at the junkyard and then assembled back together for the track.
Nice.
So absolutely beat the shit, but that's where those guys learned how to drive with no care and how they learn to drive so good because there's so little care for what can happen to the car that when you drive around a piece of crap at the track and then next thing you know your car at home is absolutely gorgeous and immaculate and the paint's right, the rims are right, the engine's right, the suspension is tuned to perfection for what you want to do. um, those guys drive absolutely perfect with their cars at home because
Hmm.
you're practicing with something that you don't care about, but you know what limits to push. And we're not talking like 80% of the limit. We're talking like 1,000% of that limit. Like,
Yeah.
the exact limit to where you need to stop and kind of like, okay, take a step back and go on. Um,
Hmm.
so, but, no, definitely something super cool. Uh, that's definitely the reason why I'm very keen on having Japanese writing on my stuff. But we're like we also have like a lot of other uh well I've been working on some new designs and stuff like
Hmm.
that to include more of the Canadian and U.S. car culture and stuff like that, and kind of bring more of the Japanese culture into Canada and the U.S. because that is
Absolutely.
something that we should all kind of take in consideration for the car culture because those guys have done it for so much longer than we have. And learning what they know and stuff like that and bringing it here would be extraordinary, but also giving back to them. Like I know um, there's a lot of Japanese guys that still like old muscle cars and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's cool to see that even though we're thousands and thousands of miles apart, uh, we all still love the same thing.
See, that's one thing that like I understand, but I don't quite comprehend. Like, I'm in no way a car guy. Like, as long as it's got Bluetooth or an aux cable and it fucking works, like I'm really not picky. Like the most picky that I'll ever be with a car is like its color, and that's about it. Like, honestly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. See, I have a lot more variables than that.
Yeah.
I think I have way too many variables, and it's everybody sees it as like, holy shit, man, like you're spending, like fucking 40 grand into a car.
Well, 'cause that's what it looks like. That is what you're doing.
That's what we're doing. And it's almost like a love-hate relationship with your car because it's
Oh yeah.
shit. Do I want to do this? Am I gonna do this? Yeah, fuck yeah, I should do it. Oh
But
no,
like
no.
everybody has a vice like that though. Like you can put a
Yeah,
couple $100 into your car and I can judge you. Meanwhile, I'm spending a couple $100 on fucking tattoos and I'm not going to
exactly.
expect
Like everybody has their thing, and I think like even I'm learning that. Like I love cars way too much, and I talk about them all the time, and I can definitely see it's getting on my girlfriend's nerves a little bit sometimes. But rightfully so. It gets definitely annoying talking about the same stuff and over again.
Yeah, it
Uh,
doesn't matter how many times you bring it up. I still don't fucking understand what you're talking about.
yeah, and see like and having to kind of um, maybe take interest in different things and not like cars are my passion. I will always love cars. I'm still working to finish my apprenticeship, become a licensed mechanic,
Mhm.
uh, and then probably after that pursuing mechanical engineering. That is something that I definitely want to get into.
Mhm.
Um, but she's in nursing, and when we first started talking or whatever else, I played the part, and that's pretty cool, like
That's
and
cool.
you're
I
nice,
my interests are your interests. Please sleep
yeah,
with me.
basically, yeah.
Yeah. The
And
beginning of
then
any
uh,
relationship.
literally, kind of, we started dating or whatever else, moved in together, and uh, well, she started talking about nursing, and then I could see that it just the fact that I didn't understand it kind of bored me, and I was like, well, like I don't really fucking care.
That's how people feel when you go on about
And
cars and they don't know what you're
yeah,
talking about.
exactly, exactly. And you know what? That was definitely a learning curve, and now I'm definitely more appreciative when um, people definitely take the time to listen and hear about my interests and are actually like, holy shit, that's cool, man. Like, good for you and stuff like that. And I give that in return now. Like, that is not
Hmm.
something that should ever go lightly.
But I also
Um,
I think that also speaks to like why car culture guys are such close knit because like in terms of cars, there's a lot of fine details that I would assume could be what might be super simple to you that's not to me could be like very annoying for you to explain to me. Like if you say, like, oh, something something, my drive shaft did this, and I go, oh, what's a drive shaft? And then instead of telling your story, you're like, okay, so what a drive shaft is blah 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 blah
yeah,
blah. Whereas when you're hanging out with your car friends, you'd be like, so this happened to my drive shaft, and everyone starts
and
laughing,
everybody understands.
and yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That kind of reminds me back in the day. That was pretty funny with with Kevin actually.
The drive
Yeah,
shaft fell out of the truck.
yeah, the drive shaft right in front of Good Life. Fuck, that was funny.
Yeah, and that's the only
Good
reason
old
why.
memories.
That's the only reason why I know what a drive shaft is because one fell out while we were driving.
The things we did in that truck.
Yeah, if that never happened, I still probably wouldn't know what a drive shaft is to today. Like, that's how uninterested and uneducated I am in cars.
And seeing that's all right. You know what? Everybody has their thing. Um, it's it's cool. Like I want to see everybody. I don't even. I understand why people fucking hate car guys because we're fucking obnoxious and annoying. Like we literally are. We are the worst type of fucking people. But we're honest. Fuck, we're honest. And I think it just goes to show as to kind of like why we're so close is exactly what you
Because you
said.
understand each other.
We understand each other and we understand the struggle of our passion. Our passion literally sometimes gives us anxiety to the point where like, okay, I need to take a fucking step back and not think about this.
Yeah. But I think, again, I don't.
And
Maybe it's not quite a specific car culture group thing. It might just be, groups in general. Because, like, the same thing I'm pretty sure has happened with you and I, where, I make some fucking random anime joke, and, you're the only one who doesn't laugh. You feel
yeah,
alienated. Everyone.
yeah,
And because that's the topic, everyone thinks you're stupid, and then I get annoyed because I have to explain to you, this is funny because, and then I
yeah,
go on a 40-minute tangent to explain to you why this one thing is funny because I just so happen to dedicate years to watching this shit where you didn't.
exactly, exactly. And it's kind of like if every like and honestly like even like back in the day maybe I should have watched some of that stuff to try
Oh
and
god.
understand it, like um
I'm not even
just
trying
to
to like advocate for it. I'm just using it as an example. I'm
oh
not
no
saying you
no
should
no
have done
definitely
this.
like I'm just using it as an example too as well, like it's if everybody were to um learn from other people, like other people's interests and stuff like that, you can learn a lot.
I think the only interests in cars that I've ever received, like via you and Kevin, is like the actual driving of the cars. Not like
Yeah.
what's in the cars, but like learning how to drift, learning reverse entries,
Yep.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah. See,
and
I find me and Kev are really focused on the driving aspect of things, and yeah, we can detail the car and make it look absolutely perfect the way we want. Um, but that's our own style. Like we won't design the same car, we won't add the same parts. We might make the same performance parts to make them run immaculate, but the outside always looks different. Always. And I feel like that's kind of um like with everybody, everybody's not going to go and get, like a big skull tattoo on their back.
no,
Like that's not everybody's style.
but
But
almost everybody has that fucking barbed wire tattoo around their bicep.
yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah. But yeah, no, like everybody has a different taste, and you know what, it's cool to see. And I feel like even backtracking to like one of your first questions as to like, what is brotherhood, and it's really that involving everyone and really appreciating everything, like everybody in their own style and their own taste and everything that they like, for sure.
All right. Well, that's probably a really good note to end this podcast on, this episode on. Before we do go though, where can the people find you?
So everybody can find me on Instagram, Facebook, I believe Twitter, unless I shut that down. Pretty sure Twitter's still up. Don't really use it that much. Um, and within the links within those, my website's there. It's through Teespring. It'll be dash Brotherhood.MFG. For our Instagram and our Facebook, it's going to be at Brotherhood.MFG. And that is us for
That's
sure. That's
about
where you
it.
can find me at.
Remember to
And
use code PASTIME in all caps, and you'll get
that
discount.
is great. I believe it's 20%.
It is 20%.
It is 20%. Yeah, 20% discount for pastime discount. So definitely, if you guys listen to this and you want to buy some merch, definitely go ahead. It'd be
Absolutely.
greatly appreciated. Would help both of us out. Um, and hopefully you guys enjoy the merch. And if there's ever any issues, problems, stuff like that, don't ever be afraid to reach out to us. We are more than happy to assist you and help you in any other way that we can, to make sure that you guys are happy, satisfied customers.
Alrighty. Well, that's going to be the end of this episode. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and until next time, goodbye.